once our dreams have flown. What if men cry, your dream is not your own? Your soul knows the answer. Go on alone. Give life your heart. Bless everything that's grown. Fear not the loving. All this world's your own. Make rich the soil, but once the seed is sown, seek freedom, don't linger. Go on alone. Walk like a man, even though you walk alone. Why court approval once the road is known? Let come who will, but if they all turn home, the goal still awaits you. Go on alone. Go on alone. Go on alone.
This next song is also by Swamiji, called Life is a Dream.
Life is a dream, time like a stream, carries our burdens away. Never despair, joys everywhere. Love can befriend you today. Free from all care, like birds on the air, soar above griefs and worries, seek joy and be gay. Often on earth, things of great worth, worldly ambitions defy. Sometimes a friend helps us ascend up from life's cares to the sky. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh.
There are times when a human being, though perhaps not remarkable in himself, encounters some extraordinary person or event that infuses his life with great meaning.
Roshi. I just want to say The New Path is by Swami Kriyananda. It's his autobiography. So I just want to buy Swami.
Yeah. My own life was blessed with such an encounter more than 60 years ago in 1948. Right here in America, of all lands and the epitome of bustling efficiency, material progressiveness, and pragmatic know-how, I met a great God-known master whose constant vision was of eternity. His name was Paramhansa Yogananda. He was from India, though it would be truer to say that his home was the whole world. Had anyone suggested to me prior to that meeting that so much radiance, dynamic joy, unaffected humility, and love might be found in a single human being, I would have replied, though perhaps with a sigh of regret that such perfection is not attainable by man. And had anyone suggested to me further that divine miracles have occurred in this scientific age, I would have laughed outright. For in those days, proud as I was in my intellectual 20th century wisdom, I mocked even the miracles of the Bible. No longer. I have seen things that made a mockery of mockery itself. I know now from personal experience that divine wonders do occur on earth. And I believe that the time is approaching when countless men and women will no more thinking of doubting God than they doubt the air they breathe. For God is not dead, it is man, only who dies to all, that is wonderful in life when he limits himself to worldly acquisitions and to advancing himself in worldly eyes, but overlooks those spiritual realities which are the foundation of all that he truly is. Jai Swamiji.
Good morning. I'd like to share a few words about how Swamiji inspired me. So when we start our spiritual journey, for majority of us it's by reading, it begins when we read autobiography of a yogi. And as I read it, I was really interested in Kriya Yoga. And of course, God led me to Ananda Sangha. And I thought Kriya Yoga, the technique, will give me the freedom and it will lead me towards liberation. But when we start learning it, Paramahansa Yogananda says, no, technique alone is not enough. You need devotion. And chanting will give you that devotion. Okay, so where shall I go for chants? Well, there's Ananda Sangha. And okay, it's not just devotion, you should also serve to progress spiritually. Where shall I go and serve? Ananda Sangha. And he also said, environment is stronger than willpower. You should need spiritual friends if you want to progress quickly. Any idea where should I go for it? Yeah, I'm standing right there. So it's a great... Ananda Sangha is a gift which my Guru Paramahansa Yogananda has given to me through Swami Kriyananda. And to walk the spiritual path, one needs a lot of inspiration, and I've derived a lot of inspiration from Swamiji. And Swamiji, of course, said that to know me, listen to my music. Yes, we can listen to his music, we can tune into the joy, his vibration, his consciousness. But if you want to tune into his wisdom, and it's from my personal experience that I'm saying, read his books. You will tune into his wisdom. And I like to share how I was in a situation and how Swami inspired me through his writing. So we all have this habit of playing the role of a victim. If only it happened like that. If only I had this, I could have done this. Or if we always tend to blame others for our own shortcomings. And I was doing that too. And this was a long time ago, and I thought, why am I in this situation? I didn't do any mistake. And I thought I will go and discuss this with Sangeeta ji. So I went there, and I was sitting, and she was on a call, and my gaze fell upon this book, which you all might have known, and I just flipped, and the first page I came across was, "Take responsibility for your life." And Swamiji says how we all like to be a victim. We actually like being a victim. We don't take responsibility. We always blame the circumstances. We say to ourselves that you have no idea in what situation I was. The situation made me do this. And Swamiji says that's not the right way alone. That's not the right way to approach it. It is we who attracted that situation to us. He also says that the quality of our energy manifests that situation in our life. It is first, if we take responsibility for that, then we will grow. And I've been applying this ever since in my life, quite successfully and not quite so successfully also, because every time when you are in a situation, first I become a victim and then crib about it and then remembers what Swami said in that chapter, in this page. And then I take responsibility for that and I say, even if it is not my fault, when I take responsibility, the solution appears. Otherwise, we are busy complaining. And I'm ever thankful for Swamiji in inspiring me that way. And I have a guru, and he has given the techniques. He showers his love on us all the time. But no matter how good the teacher is, you might all have experienced this. If you have a doubt in the class, you lean towards your friend and ask, "Ye samajh nahi aaya, kya hai?" Do you all do that? Swami Kriyananda is that friend, or I would say a highly evolved soul who knew that students approach their friends more than the teacher, so he was amongst us like a student in a disguise, so that we could approach him and draw inspiration from him. And I would like to read a couple of lines. Swamiji, in this page, he says, "Your life is an outward manifestation of your own consciousness through the medium of the energy you generate. And the right kind of energy, if you need to generate the right kind of energy, we meditate. We not only meditate, not only by meditation, but also through attunement." And Swamiji also says that wise are we if we give God the credit for anything we do well and attribute any trials or misfortunes to a deficiency in our attunement with Him. So from after reading these pages and even till today, initially, yes, I don't apply the teaching in the right moment, but after a few minutes or hours or maybe even a day, it comes back to me that I should look within myself. And thereby we have a solution, and we also stop creating more bad karma by cribbing. I'm ever thankful to Swamiji for his writings, and I would also request you all to tune into his wisdom through his books. Thank you.
This is also an excerpt from The New Path by Swami. Autobiography of a Yogi remains the greatest book I have ever read. One perusal of it was enough to change my whole life. From that moment on, my break with the past was complete. I resolved in the smallest detail to follow Paramhansa Yogananda Ji's teaching. My own deep-seated desire had always been to share joy with others. Having perhaps suffered spiritually myself, I felt deeply the spiritual suffering of others and longed to do all I could to assuage those sufferings. Master responded to this deep inner longing in me and trained me from the beginning for public service. Hearing Master describe certain dangers to those in the public ministry, I said to him, "Sir, that's why I don't want to be a public speaker." He understood that this was an important moment in my life. Speaking gravely and with great emphasis, he lowered his eyes to the floor and averred, "You will never fail because of ego." There was another aspect, however, to his concern over those who taught in his name, or for that matter, who edited his writings. No one so far had shown real enthusiasm for sharing his teachings or his broader mission with others. Everyone seemed more connected with his or her own spiritual progress. In me, Master had found someone at last who really wanted to reach out to the whole world with the truths he had come to share. My work was to serve as a spearhead for his teachings. He knew from the beginning that my job would be to introduce his message widely everywhere without adding amendments of my own.
Good morning, friends. Today, I think it's a good time to reflect on Swamiji's birthday, how Ananda has actually impacted our lives. As Hari reflected, it's a one-stop shop for all spiritual needs. But I also reflected about it, and I thought and I wondered, why is it that I keep coming back again and again? What is that magnetic pull, that attraction that keeps me coming day after day here again and again? And when it's time to leave, there's so much reluctance that all my Guru Bhais around me are like, there now, she's inching her way towards her house. So what was that? There is something special here. And I think we all feel that. That's why we keep coming back again and again. Is that not so? I heard a visitor say once that your ashram, Ananda, is like an oasis in the desert of Delhi. So what is it that makes us so special? What makes Ananda so special? When I came here, it was probably 5-6 years back. I had been to some other spiritual organizations and learned meditation, teachings and all. But when I came here, it was just so different. People were not just talking like, words, inner peace, inner joy, inner freedom. They actually practiced these teachings, meditation. The teachings were actually practiced of Yoganandaji, of Swamiji, of our gurus. And all of us, all the Guru Bhais, the Acharyas, the Naya Swamis, they actually reflected that. They had that deep joy and inner freedom, which I think instinctively I wanted also. And where did this come from though? What was the source? Just see Swamiji's, any photograph, if you see Swamiji, you can see that light of inner freedom, of joy, radiating from his ever-smiling face. Is it not so? This is where it comes from. Physically, he is not with us anymore, but his presence, his spirit, his legacy permeates all of Ananda and touches each and every one of us who comes here. Ananda was his life's work. A major part of his life he spent in building all this for us. He built up Ananda, this organization, over 100 books and pieces of music. Why? So that we could take the yogic teachings of his Guru Paramhans Yoganandaji deeper and incorporate them, understand them better, incorporate them into our lives. And his humility stands forth in that as well. He was like a success by any yardstick, the attainment and achievements that he's got. Yet, if you spoke to him about that, he would say, this is not my effort, this is Guru's guidance, Guru's efforts. And he would never allow himself to be called a Guru. He always wanted to be remembered as a disciple doing his Guru's work. When he taught in classes also, it was more about sharing his Guru's teachings. And I think all of us have attended a lot of classes in Ananda. All the teachers here, it's not, I'm a Guru and I know better than all of you. Is it like that? It's all about them sharing what they have learned here and doing the best that they can for all of us. And even when we talk about joint effort, when we get together for the choir, for the spiritual fair, and many other activities and events, the principle behind it is Swamiji's words, that people are more important than the work. And the spiritual well-being of the person to whom you give the work is more important than the work itself. Today I sang in the choir the first time, and I'm very, very sure that Dayaji put me there, not for my fantastic abilities as a singer, but because of my own spiritual well-being, to allow that consciousness to uplift me. When we talk about the spiritual fair, most of you have, I think all of you have participated in some way or the other. 80 to 100 of us working together. And at the end of the day, those who have stayed for the full day as well, what do they end up with saying? They say we have more energy today than if we had spent this whole Sunday relaxing at home. So this energy, this physical, maybe not his physical presence, but his presence, Swamiji's presence is with us. His principles are still alive with us today in Ananda. And he is like actually, even though we can't see it, a very tangible physical presence guiding us, leading us, inspiring us, touching each of us in numerous ways. And I'm sure that all of us, I think all of us in our deep hearts, share deep gratitude towards Swamiji for helping us bring meaning to our lives and so much joy into our life. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Swamiji. So I'm going to share an incident from his life. A way of life. Swamiji was one of several guest teachers sitting on the raised dais at a large yoga center waiting his turn to speak. It gets too much then. It was a casual event and the speakers were all in rocking chairs. The room was hot and stuffy and the talks were a little dull. Swamiji was gently rocking back and forth with an abstracted air. Still, watching him was more interesting to me than listening to the speakers. So I was astonished when suddenly he simply disappeared. Unbeknownst to him, the chair had been rocking not only forward and back, but also slowly across the platform until it simply fell off the edge with Swamiji in it. Even though it was a total surprise to suddenly be tumbling off the stage, Swamiji didn't make a sound. He just hit the ground, got up, lifted the chair back into place, sat down, and resumed rocking. It all happened so fast, only a few people even noticed. On another occasion, this time at Ananda village, Swamiji and his chair also fell off the stage. He was giving a lecture, sitting in a chair which had been placed so close to the edge of the raised platform that a vigorous gesture by Swamiji sent it toppling over. This time, everyone's eyes were on him, and the whole audience gasped in dismay. Swamiji, however, made no exclamation of alarm or gesture of surprise. In fact, he barely paused in his lecture, but stood up immediately and continued talking as if nothing had happened, even while others lifted the chair into place so he could sit down again. In and of itself, falling off a stage is not a significant spiritual event, except that these incidents illustrate an interesting quality in Swamiji's nature. He lives in the now and is not unsettled, therefore, by sudden, unexpected changes. Rather, to him, such changes are just part of the natural flow and not worth exclaiming over. Master said, what comes of itself, let it come. For Swamiji, this is more than an aphorism, it is way of life. Take care of the minutes, Master said, and the incarnations will take care of themselves.
Well, all the speakers, everything has been so beautiful. There's very little to add, but I'll just say a few words also. Also, like Hari and Vasudha have said, everything that Ananda is, certainly this ashram, all of the members here, the ashrams around India, America, Europe, all over the world, the online work, everything that it is, of course, would not exist had Swamiji not been born, and had he not taken discipleship with his beloved guru, Paramahansa Yogananda. And we can only imagine, I can only imagine what my life would be like if Swami had not been born. And it would not look pretty at this point, I don't think. And, also like Vasudha and Hari said, being able to come to Ananda when I came in the 90s, mid-90s, as a very worldly person, but in my heart wanting something more. Really, Ananda's spiritual family just took my hand and helped me to walk step after step, taught me how to meditate, and however long it took me to sort of shun my worldly ways and, want to be around the higher vibration more often. They just let me take my time, and I did take my time. It took me 2.5 years before I took discipleship. And it just allowed me the space, the love, the unconditional friendship just to bloom at my own pace. And when we think of what Swamiji has done for us, Master came with a mission for Dwapara Yuga, which was move beyond the institutions, beyond dogma, behind just outer ritual, and let the soul experience God. And Swamiji, like he said in this readings earlier, he did not believe miracles existed because he had grown up in a church that he could no longer believe in. But suddenly, when he saw Master's spiritual principles and ideals and how one could experience God and the practical path of Kriya Yoga and of devotion to God, he said, I need to share this with the world. And so his books, Hari mentioned his books. His books are like a window to Yogananda. Yogananda himself said that you had to go beyond the obstacle of pen and paper to experience his consciousness. When he wrote Whispers of Eternity, at the very beginning, the front of Whispers, he writes that you move beyond this pen and this ink and move into the consciousness which I am sharing with you. And what Swami is saying with his books is move beyond the obstacles of this paper, beyond even me as an instrument, and tune into the consciousness that I am trying to be an instrument of, so that you can understand who my guru was. And so through all his books, through all his music, Swami is just trying to help us know who Master is, who our guru is. And I don't think I would have really just even a sliver of a concept of who Paramahansa Yogananda was, aside from, of course, reading Yogananda's books and Autobiography of a Yogi. But, Master in Autobiography Yogi seems to say, look how great all these other saints are. But Swami is saying, look who we have in Yogananda Ji. And I have come to understand that Yogananda is my guru, that I can love him, that I can feel his love through everything that Swamiji has given me. And through Swami's music, you could hear it today, but also you please listen to his music. You please sing his music and try to also feel Yogananda's consciousness coming through that music. Through Education for Life, the schools that Swamiji has started, each child is a soul, and we need to care for this soul. And these children need to learn cooperation and harmony and how to sit quietly early on in meditation so they themselves can experience their own souls. So Swamiji helped manifest Yogananda's vision of education and of World Brotherhood colonies. We are a type of a community here, but what Swami did in manifesting World Brotherhood communities around the world was very much manifesting his guru's ideals of people who can live together, meditate together, serve together in harmony, and grow together. And I think this is one of the greatest legacies that Swami has left for us. And what an opportunity we have to also want to be our own expression of Yogananda's consciousness, of Yogananda's light in this world. You know, Yogananda told Swami Kriyananda, you have a great work to do. And he said it again and again to Swami Kriyananda. Even Rajarsi Janakananda said, yes, Master said you have a great work to do. And he will give you the strength to do it. And who are we? We are Swamiji's students, also his children. And we are the strength that allows Swamiji to continue to share Master's teachings in India, around the world. And each of us can ask ourselves, how can we also be an instrument through our meditation as we become channels of that light, through our seva, as we become channels of that joyful, harmonious energy, through our attunement with Swamiji, with these gurus, how can we manifest what Yogananda was born for on this planet? And how can I shine with that light, with that vibration, and take the baton from Swamiji and say, I will go, I will do it, I will do this with my life. Yes, I have family, yes, I have other things I'm doing, but this can be one of the most important things I do. Be a channel of that light and follow Swamiji's footsteps in being such an amazing instrument of these masters. God bless you.
When I was 20 and first learned meditation, I wasn't looking for a guru. I thought that I was not nearly ready, that I was unworthy. But I was looking for inspiration, for support, for spiritual friends. And it was then that I bought Swamiji's book, Yoga Postures for Higher Awareness. And almost every day I followed the instructions and felt that Swamiji was giving me his consciousness through that little book, that he was that spiritual friend and guide that I was seeking. And he spoke in a way that I needed to hear, not as an authoritarian guru, but as someone who was humble and wise and had something valuable that he wanted to share. And my interest only increased over the months, and I had this deep desire to share these teachings. And I could see how it was a failure, the problems with greed and selfishness in a consumer society, and I wanted to be part of a solution. And I had this desire to live in the country in a spiritual community with other devotees like myself, creating it ourselves, growing our own food, having a retreat to share meditation, having spiritual schools for the children. And when that was clear in my mind, I think, then I found a second book by Swamiji, saying how he had created exactly such a community just 2 years prior. And a few months after reading that book, I was living at Ananda village. But he reaffirmed all of my own thinking on these topics. But he wasn't just thinking, he had done something about it. And he predicted this as a pattern of life for many people in the future. But it was also just, it's limited how many people could live in that way. And so he also saw how the lessons learned can be shared by people no matter what their walk of life, no matter what their family, work, responsibilities in other ways. We can all learn from this example. And to create that degree of cooperation at Ananda Village, he had to be a spiritual leader. And people had to be following one spiritual path together. But he had seen the pitfalls of the typical authoritarian top-down organization. The other disciples of Yogananda had tried to create such an organization after the passing of Yogananda. Instead, Swamiji chose to be a spiritual friend, the best possible spiritual friend he felt he could be to others. And that also is the perfect example for us to follow, to be that spiritual friend. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for a moment now and follow this brief visualization of Swamiji. Develop an attitude of generous giving. Don't take from life selfishly. All nature is responding to your love. Feel love for everything. And feel your love expanding like a sunlit cloud, blessing and bringing everything joyfully, bringing everything joyfully to life.